Hi, a common problem with the rhythm is that the parameter resolution is very limited. Many of the parameters only accept integer values that range between 0 and 127. This can be problematic, for example, for detune values, or when we want to fine-tune sample start and sample end values in long samples. In this video, I want to show you a trick how to control these parameters more fine-grained without using an LFO. Internally, many of the parameters in the rhythm actually have a higher resolution. Common knowledge is to use LFOs, freeze the LFO speed, and use the square wave. Then you can use the LFO amount to fine-tune your parameter values, because the LFO values have floating point resolution. I want to demonstrate this problem with the detune parameter of the dual VCO engine. I have set this up that we can hear a continuous tone played, and the oscillators should be perfectly in tune. However, as you can hear, there's still quite a bit of phasing going on, and that is because they are analog, they are not perfectly in tune. If I now change the detune parameter, you can see that I do not have the necessary resolution to actually get these parameters in tune. The idea that I want to present in this video is to make use of the control-in inputs of the rhythm. And these are useful even without using any CV source plugged into the rhythm. This means that this trick that I'm presenting today unfortunately only works on the Mark II rhythm, since the Mark I units do not have the control voltage input. If we look into the global settings, then we can see that we have the control settings in the global menu. Here we can set up voltage mappings for the control input 1 and 2. If you set this to CV, then we can set a 0 level. So this means the voltage where our expression value maps to 0. And we can set a voltage where our maximum expression value is reached. Our voltage on the control input without anything plugged in should be roughly 0 volts. So if we set this to a slight negative value here, it means that we are shifting down our 0 point into the negative range. And so our 0 volts value at the control input will now map to a non-zero value. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of noise on the control input, but I have found that with the values as you can see it here, so minus 100 for the CV0 level and 5500 for the CV max level, works really well. To make use of these parts, we need to go into the kit settings. So press function and then kit, and then in control in 1 mod. And here on the left you can see our expression value, and you can see that the current value is 1. So this is because we have shifted the point a little bit, and we do have a non-zero expression value that we can now map to different parameters. The way we do that is that we press the encoders to select which track we want to affect the parameter of. So you can see in the first line, now we're at closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, cymbal, cowbell. We can even use the effects track as a target. And now we will switch around, bass drum, and I do have my dual VCO engine on the snare drum, so this is the track that we use. Then we use the upper encoder to select the parameter, so we use oscillator 2 detune, and our fine-tune parameter is now the parameter that we control with the lower encoder. Now you can hear that I can very finely control the detune value of these oscillators. And so it's actually fine enough that I can get them perfectly in sync. And so this will work with pretty much any of the parameters that any of the voices have. So this is the first trick that I wanted to show you. And there's another trick. We can use the second control input and set the range very close to 0. So this means now that our noisy voltage that is present at this unconnected input will have a strong effect on our parameter value. And you can see this line that kind of visualizes the voltage present at this input is jumping a little bit. So this means we now have a noisy voltage source that we can map to arbitrary parameters on the rhythm. And we can use this, for example, to animate the time of the global effects track. So I have here one track set up with a chord sample that is sent into the delay. And as you can hear, this is very static. But so now I can again go to the kit settings, control input 2. So this is where I send my noisy values. And you should occasionally see this jump around a little bit. I have this set already to the FX track and to the delay time. And now I can just turn up this mapping. Now you can hear that we have some jumps in the delay time, and I can set this to a bit more subtle values to give some slight tape warbly effects. Lastly, I want to mention where these settings are actually saved. These control input 1 and control input 2 settings are global settings, and they are saved in the global slot. Here you can select the different global slots. And these apply to all projects, so you only need to do the setup once. The other mapping of this control input mod is stored inside of the kit. So for each kit, you can have different parameters that are fine-tuned. I hope this video was useful, and I hope to see you in the next one.